Well, what timing? Welcome into the show. Hour one, just getting started with you on day two of the SEC baseball tournament live here in Hoover at Hoover Metropolitan Stadium. And I'm not joking when I say, quite literally, within the last minute and a half, the first game of the day ended via 10-run rule. Florida 13-1, a winner over Mississippi State. State will play tomorrow morning at the same time in an elimination game. They'll play the loser of the game that's coming up next between Tennessee and Alabama. And yeah, so here we are. Welcome into the Bureau live. And hey to y'all on the live stream. Caleb, the first to comment on Periscope, says rough start. Yeah. Well, let's just look at it this way. If you're Florida, the game could not have gone better in any particular way. And if you're State, the game could not have gone worse in any particular way. You don't see a whole lot of run rule ball games here in Hoover, but you just got one. And it's back to the drawing board for State. See if they want to be competitive tomorrow. And for Florida, I mean, it's a heck of a ball game today. State pitching filled up the strike zone early, and Florida just pounded the baseball. And to the tune of, 18 hits, something along those lines, 19 hits. I'll look up the stats in just a bit. So the game just ended. If you're tuning in here live today, welcome in. It'll be another day two of my broadcast to you live from Hoover, and we're just getting started. 3 hours with you here ahead. If you're listening live, I'll give you the scene. Again, the game just ended, and we're in the changeover. You got the grounds crew out on the field, going to get everything ready, redo the mound, redo the logos over in front of the on-deck circles, repaint the lines. Alabama has moved into the third base dugout and then beyond. They're getting loose out in left field. Tennessee's team will be out shortly. They'll be here on the first base side, and be the home team here in this ball game, as they are the 2 seed in the tournament. Tennessee, the 2 seed, as the Eastern Division champ, and Alabama over there via a whipping they put on South Carolina here. Now, if you're watching on the live stream, hey to y'all. Appreciate you tuning in. Danny on Facebook says, "Well, Matt, that was rather ugly." Ohio State still love the dogs. Yeah, it was ugly. Here's how it felt, okay, as we get started. Let me describe it for you. Here's how it felt. It was like getting up today. Dad and I were in the hotel. We get up, we come to the ballpark. It's sort of a work day for me, but, really for the most part, the radio, as we talked about here, it doesn't necessarily feel like work because you're just talking about baseball and you're at the venue. But you get up, you show up for the first game, you're going to watch your team play. And it was like, wait a minute. I thought we were supposed to see a ball game. It was more like showing up to watch Florida batting practice, quite honestly, throughout the ball game today is the way that it felt. Now, I will tell you, in the works, in the plans today, if you're tuning in live on the radio, you're watching the live stream, we've got an opportunity to talk to some people today. Now, the game just ended, so Mississippi State media, including Steve Robertson, those guys, they are in the post-game right now. They're about to start their post-game interviews, and so that'll be like online. They're doing it virtually, not in person downstairs where they normally do it. They're connecting via Zoom just like they have all year long, but they're about to jump in on the post-game stuff that the SEC provides. And as soon as that's done, Steve's going to slip in here and sit down next to me right here and put on the headset in the media area, and we'll talk about this ball game and kind of what's ahead for Mississippi State, what it all means. So Steve Robertson's going to join us. If everything goes according to plan, we'll talk with Parrish Alford of the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. Parrish covers Ole Miss for the Journal. He was here for that late game last night, a heck of an outing for Doug Nikhazy. He just continues to be dominant on the mound for Ole Miss. And Parrish is set to come and join us a little later in the show. And then also, before we're done today, we'll get a chance to talk to Bart Gregory. I saw Bart here earlier today. He's doing some work. We had his family with him, also some of his family with him, and he's running around. I don't know if Bart will have the chance to sit down with us here or if we're going to get him on the phone. I think it'll probably be on the phone. But regardless, let you know we're going to be joined by some folks. You'll hear the noise in the background. Right now, right below me on the playing surface, coming out in front of the first base dugout, Tennessee Volunteers are making their way out here. If you're interested in uniforms, I'll give you what you got. You're going to have home team Tennessee, so it's white pants, orange jerseys, looks like. Maybe it's all whites. Let's see here. I don't know. We're going to have a lot of orange here in the ballpark, orange hats. Good to see Tennessee here. We've had a lot of years we didn't have them, but they're a heck of a baseball team, Eastern Division champs. Alabama is going to wear what they wore yesterday. I guess maybe there's a little luck involved there. Gray pants, crimson tops, crimson hats. And we'll have game 2 here today on day 2 coming up in just a bit. And Alabama's up against it. They need to win as many games they can. They need as many upsets as they can get, just like they got yesterday, in order to make the NCAA tournament. Y'all can text me on the Country Pleasing text line. It's 885 ESPN, 885 ESPN, or 885 3776. Text me there on the Country Pleasing Sausage text line. If you're tuning in on the live stream, you get a look at the mobile Farm Bureau Insurance studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau. Tennessee's going to be the home team here today, but in Mississippi, Farm Bureau Insurance is your home team. And here's why I tell you that. Speaking from experience, just trust me. When it comes to insurance, it's number one, great to know the person one-on-one, face-to-face, somebody that you're going to deal with, your local agent. Number two, somebody you can depend on, who they give you their cell phone number. And if you have a question, or if you have that fender bender at 11 p.m. on Saturday night, you know how to pick up the phone and text your buddy who's your Farm Bureau Insurance agent. He'll hop out of bed if he's in bed, or he'll come on out or answer your questions and get on it, because it's somebody that's in your community living right down the road. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it is with Farm Bureau. Hey, and speaking of Farm Bureau Insurance, my man Robert Carolla, watching on Facebook from the big metropolis of Grenada, Mississippi, one of their finest, local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in Grenada. Robert says, it's baseball. Now it's time to see how to face adversity. Tomorrow's another day. This tournament is still winnable. And you're exactly right. Baseball is so quirky and weird. I mean, Alabama was not supposed to put up 9 runs on South Carolina yesterday. They weren't. State was supposed to come in here and, be a little more competitive against Florida. There is some strategy and some decision-making in there in terms of who you pitch and all that kind of stuff. It's not like you had Bednar or McLeod out there. You had Brandon Smith, but it just didn't go that well. And Florida, there's a part of it too. Sitting here watching it in person, Robert, I got to tell you, there's a part of it you have to kind of credit Florida. Brandon Smith was hitting the strike zone. I mean, the ball was in the middle of the plate some, but even as you saw, there's some pretty good pitches that were not heart of the plate. Florida was just barreling the baseball up. And kind of like, I was thinking about last night, that Auburn and Ole Miss game, that was an example of Ole Miss, when they put the bat on the ball, it found holes, and Auburn had a bunch of times last night where they hit the ball hard, but it didn't find a hole. So there is a that's baseball element to this. And Florida really played well today. Pitched it well, played well, I thought, all the way around. Miss Dinah, hope you're doing well. Hey to you on Facebook. She says, hey, Matt, enjoy your visit with your dad. I really have enjoyed spending some time with him for sure. And we're going to get to continue to do that throughout the week. We're having a blast getting to spend some time together. Jason, watching on YouTube, said, Old Parrish from Denham Springs, Louisiana. He sure is. Old Parrish Alford. Denham Springs went to, I guess back in the day, it was Northeast Louisiana, right? Now it's Louisiana Monroe. Isn't he a Monroe alum? And we'll talk some baseball with Parrish. I always want to talk with him in person. He's kind enough to be here and come and plop down next to me over here. So we'll put a headset on Parrish later today. More of your comments coming up, and we'll get to some of those. On the text line, Country Pleasing text line, 885 ESPN. Let's see what you have, and then I'll jump into a little analysis on the ball game and some final stats. Norman, coffee Norman. Norman, I don't have coffee. I got a soft drink here. And I'm using my Diet Dr. Pepper to actually prop the phone up so that you guys, my phone doesn't fall that we're doing the live stream with here today. If it falls down, it means I took a sip. I'll go get some coffee in a minute so I can leave my drink can where it is. Coffee Norman on the Country Pleasing text line says, will Lemonis regret his pitching decision? No serious approach just cost the national seat. That's a question mark. Now, Coffee Norman, I don't know. I don't know if it costs you a national seat. Maybe it does. But there's really no way to, I think, peg that down. I'm not sure. The thing is, you're playing multiple games here. I think the pitching decisions are less clear when you're kind of in what's the right word? Not gray area, but you're you're in, you are hosting, and you're already in the national seed conversation, right? And you're going to play multiple games. So when there's a guarantee you're playing at least 2 games here, I think the pitching decisions are less clear. There's more to juggle to consider. In terms of depth and who wants to get work versus who gives you the best chance to win versus who's rested and who isn't. When you take for instance well, look at Ole Miss last night. Okay, they're a day 1 team, right? Didn't have the bye, and they're in a situation last night where if they don't win, it's not a must win to be in the tournament, but you pretty much felt, and I don't know that we talked about it enough. Ole Miss was coming in last night with a 15 RPI. Well, it's a neutral site game, but if you go out there and you don't beat an Auburn who has a low RPI, they beat you on a neutral site. Who knows? You play 1 game and go home. By the time this is all over, there are teams that can pass you in the RPI, let alone like if Ole Miss, let's say, drops a spot in the RPI by losing that game last night, and then 1 team jumps them. It's putting Ole Miss in that, 17, 18 range in the RPI. And now you're looking at conference records to see, do they deserve to host? That kind of thing. So they took the approach of, nope, we're going to take the approach that's sitting there at 15 RPI. We got no room to wiggle. We must win this game. We're pitching Doug Nikhazy. So it's a very clear decision. I don't think the pitching decisions are clear. Okay. All of that being said, Norman, that's what we're paying a coaching staff for, right? I mean, that's what you pay Lamonis and those guys to make that decision for. They are better at that information, engaging it than we are. They have, I think, access to behind-the-scenes information, talk more so than we do. I mean, I think the work is in. I think in a lot of ways, hay is in the barn. I think State's a national seed. But, you lose today to Florida. I don't know that the RPI factors in the margin of defeat. Maybe there's an eye factor there for the committee who's going to make some of those decisions. All that said, Brandon Smith was a guy who is a veteran. It wasn't like you ran a freshman out there. And there's no question they expected to get a better start out of Brandon Smith today than they got. Florida certainly contributed to that. I just can't go down that route with you, Norman, right now and say that the decision to pitch Brandon Smith in this game, and then when you get in the bullpen, it was a couple of guys, late. You saw Cade Smith, you saw Hunt, and they got hit. Sarantola had an inning out there, right? Did he throw 1 or 2? Regardless, I just don't know that you point to those decisions and goes, oh, that's why you lost, and you've cost yourself a national seed. I think that's going a little too far right now, especially with games left to play this week. Nick says, let Rowdy pitch tomorrow and take it to the house. Rest arms and get ready for what really matters. Nick, I think after today's result, there are a lot of people who do feel that way, but I think for some of the things we just mentioned, the team's not going to feel that way. I think, there's probably a decent chance, that you see one of your better arms tomorrow. And that is a Wednesday. Today, let's see, tomorrow will be a Thursday. So if you throw a McLeod tomorrow, it'll be a full week after throwing on Thursday of last week. So I think we see McLeod tomorrow, regardless of who they're in that ball game against. Now, and I know you were being facetious saying throw Rowdy in the ball game. I realize that. Patrick, Country Pleasing text line says, Florida's bats were hot. Balls found gaps. Pitchers were throwing strikes. Our guys were hitting them right to players. State put the bat on the ball some. It's like Rowdy Jordan's first at bat of the ball game, right? Like the first pitch he sees, bang, it's like a 100-mile-an-hour line drive right to the shortstop. Yeah, there was an element of that. But, man, Florida was really good at the plate today. They pounded mistakes, and they pounded some balls that weren't mistakes. They made State earn every out, and that's what you got to do. Grumpy, he texted and he said, Matt, should MSU wear their Sunday blacks tomorrow for good luck? Yeah, well, there's no such thing as uniforms give you good luck. That's only in your head. So should they wear them? I don't know. They can wear whatever they want to wear. I'm not really sure I care. I will tell you, though, the It'll be hot tomorrow. I don't know that you're wearing black uniforms by choice tomorrow on a Thursday. That's just my thoughts. Gator Nation uh, says, "Why are y'all surprised? We're the Gators. It's what we do. If you ain't a Gator, then you Gator bait." And then he signs off TB12 GOAT. Gator Nation hadn't been bragging on Gator baseball all year long until today. Green Okra says, "Thanks for being at the SEC tournament. The on-site analysis is awesome." Thanks, Okra. Appreciate you, man, for tuning in very, very much. Okay, let's see here. Back over on the live stream. Let me see what a few people had to say in reaction to this whipping here today. Josh on Facebook asking, does this loss knock State from the top 8 national seed? Well, I don't really know. I don't think there's any way to know. I mean, it is a loss, but it is neutral site against a pretty good RPI team in Florida. I don't know that it necessarily knocks you out of it. You know, if State turns around, plays somebody tomorrow, whoever it is, plays somebody tomorrow and beat them, then you move on, play somebody again, maybe play Florida again. Here in the same venue, neutral site, favors you in the RPI. So, there's just at least one game left. You go win that one, you're playing another game, and I think it's just too early to say, does this loss knock you out of being a top 8 seed? Cooper, he said, if State goes 0-2, do you see them not hosting a super regional, or do you think they are a lock already? Again, we've kind of touched on that, and so I'm repeating here. I don't think it's either way. I don't think it knocked them out, and I don't think they're a lock. I think this factors in for them. Longmire said the SEC Network guys say that the top 4 teams are a lock for super regionals. Well, and again, that's what I was kind of saying earlier, Longmire, is that, are they worthy of that? Yeah. I just think, coming in, everybody around the country, including people on committees who are going to make decisions, looked at it this way and said, look, those top 4 in the SEC they're nationals, or they're going to be. The tournament ain't going to really move things one way or the other for those top 4 teams. That's the way everybody around the country felt. And then you have this today, and so it kind of shakes everybody up a little bit. It makes you start thinking and second guessing and those kinds of things. And I think that that's okay. That's part of it. But ultimately, you got more games to play, so there's no way to really be definitive about it. And I think that's kind of what we're all pointing at right now. We got a few minutes left in this segment right here, and he's already here with me, so I'm not going to make him wait, and I don't want to make you wait. Maybe he's got a little time to hang out. But Steve Robertson at Scout Steve R on Twitter, sitting to my left. Folks watching the live stream can sort of see him. They can see him from the neck up, and that's enough. Steve, what's up, man?
Well, that was an absolute butt whipping.
Hey, sometimes you're the windshield, and sometimes you're the bug.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too. It's like I expected a low-scoring game. I really did. It's because I felt with Brandon Smith on the mound, he'd be able to keep the ball down. He wasn't able to do that, and for some reason, he just couldn't spot up low in the zone and had to elevate a little bit. And Florida is such a good hitting team, and they absolutely took it full advantage. And I think that really the only positive today, and there's probably only one, is that Cade Smith comes out, gives you a couple of hitless innings there, and maybe perhaps he's a guy you can use next weekend, maybe as a potential third starter.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look here. Get this pulled up. Visiting stats. Cirantola threw 1 inning. I know that there was a hit in there and maybe a walk.
And control was still an issue.
Still an issue.
That's the thing. The last couple of outings, he's been decent out of the bullpen. Today, not so much. And Casey Hunt. I mean, once you got through Brandon and Cade, I mean, you're just trying to mop up. But in many respects, I think today kind of served as an audition for a spot next weekend. And I would think the only guy that had a passing grade would be Cade Smith.
Cade Smith, yeah. Tuller coming out first. I know there was a lefty at the plate. They bring him in, but he's been a guy that you depended on to come in and get swings and misses. And it was a little bit of, apropos for the whole day. If it was in the zone, they put the fat part of the bat on it. Florida was good. You got to credit them. And there were a few times that they hit balls that were a little bit out of the zone, but they still hit it hard. They had a really good day at the plate and a lot to play for. little disappointed, though, that Toller couldn't get swings and misses that he's normally gotten throughout the year.
Yeah, and I guess really the bigger disappointment in this whole thing is the State approached this basically as a midweek game.
Yeah.
Florida approached it as a Saturday series clincher. Okay, but that doesn't excuse what State have 4 hits today. So that's a typical SEC guy you're seeing. It's not like they're throwing Roger Clemens. This is a guy, regardless of the score, you ought to be able to go out there and hit the baseball. And in that first inning, State barreled some balls up. But after that, I thought he was outstanding, and I thought State's approach to the plate was a little bit lacking.
Yeah. And there was a little bit of that luck factor. Look, that big of a score, 13-1, they out hit you 18-4. I'm not going to sit here and say one team had luck and the other didn't. But when the other team's doing that to your pitching and you need to try to keep up, you need balls to find holes. Rowdy Jordan goes up there, and the first pitch he sees, he hits a 100-mile-an-hour line drive right to the shortstop. It doesn't find a hole. So there was that element of the whole that's baseball thing. But, Steve, we can maybe get into it. I'm listening for the music. Bill, let me know if we're headed to break shortly. But the big question I think that everybody's bringing up the live stream and elsewhere, and we got about 45 seconds, is national seed. Does this knock you out, move you around?
No, I don't think so. Not today by itself. Do you come out here and lay an egg tomorrow?
Yeah.
Then maybe so. Yeah. I think the whole objective is to come here, maybe win a game or two. And so I think State needs to win tomorrow. If you go over here and go 0-2 and one of them's a 10-run rule, which you now have, then how do you go stand before the committee and say, yeah, they're playing really well, and then they go to the conference tournament and they can't field the baseball, can't throw strikes. And so today, on its face, no. But coupled with a bad loss tomorrow, yeah, I think you could maybe instead of you being 6, 7, or 8, you could be 9, 10, or 11. Yeah. And so I think it's absolutely State has something to play for. And I've been really hesitant, unlike some other people who said, oh, the hay's in the barn, everything's done. Yeah. It's amazing how that Missouri series changed the perception of this team.
Yeah. Can you stick around?
Sure.
More with Steve coming up. Y'all stay with us.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For double enjoyment, reach for Beech Nut Peppermint Gum. It sparkles your smile, your breath, your whole sense of enjoyment. Beech Nut Peppermint in the familiar yellow pack.
Jeans do come true.
Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world.
Let's dive in and see what we have here.
Do what I did. Visit BlueDeltaJeans.com. Find your fit. Just for my listeners, enter discount code Matt Wyatt.
Just answer the questions.
BlueDeltaJeans.com. Answer the questions. Use this code. Use the code. You're going to get a discount.
They are the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Hey, y'all, let me tell you a little bit about C Spire. New stuff in 2021, including 5G coverage. If you go to their website right now, cspire.com, you're going to see their no bull, which, by the way, I love the Super Bowl ad with the slow motion bull. You're going to see that on the website. But look, they're right. There's been a lot of bull over the years in your wireless bill, depending on if who you were with. And my experience with C Spire is just like they say, there's no bull. I know what it's going to cost me each month. I know what my coverage is the number one coverage in Mississippi, period, the number one network. And they've got 5G phones that are 5G ready. Now, I have the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, got it at C Spire, went and did curbside at my local C Spire location and did the exchange where I traded in my old one, got the new one, and it's 5G capable. And we've got 5G coverage in parts of Mississippi, and it's just growing by the day. So you really ought to check that out, okay? And in terms of the new phones, you got deals going on those as well. Find those out at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired.
After these messages. We'll be right back.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
A lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. We carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, but this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower.
Better buy bird's eye. Better buy, better buy, better buy bird's eye.
Yes, always look.
At first base, number 40, Blue Princess. Batting seven, in right field, number 27, Jordan Beck.
All right, here we go. Back with you. Live from Hoover, Alabama, day 2 of the SEC baseball tournament. And game 1 is behind us. It only went 7 innings, 13-1, 10-run rule. Florida over Mississippi State. We're joined by Steve Robertson from genespage.com, 24/7 Sports, live on your radio right now in the mobile Farm Bureau Insurance Studios. Farm Bureau, go with the home teams. Let's go back kind of where we ended. Lots of questions and talk about did this loss today knock State out of the national seed picture? The prevailing thought is that, we got more games to play. I mean, we don't know all the info just yet. I didn't think that this one game, you lose it, however you lose it, knocks you out of the national seed stuff. What do you think?
No, I agree with you 100%. It never boils down to, as bad as it feels, and there's so many Mississippi State people that have been so fragile since that Missouri series. You just like, oh, my gosh. So one thing we know for sure, Mississippi State's going to host a regional next weekend. That is guaranteed. Okay, Mississippi State's going to play in a tournament. That's guaranteed. Now, in order to make sure that if you advance, you have a chance to host a super regional, I really think you need to win tomorrow to kind of remove all doubt. I think State's there, but I think everybody would feel a whole lot better with at least one win in Hoover.
Yeah. So if it's Alabama, all right, so to be the loser of this game tomorrow morning at 9:30. If it's Alabama, it's right back out there against the team you just swept last weekend. And there's two trains of thought, right, Steve? One is, they couldn't beat you last weekend. What makes you think they can beat you here? The other thing is, it might be hard to beat anybody 4 times in the same week. Just depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think they're going to throw Dylan Smith tomorrow too, which is a guy State beat up pretty good, but they left him in the ball game to kind of save some pen for Sunday. They're doing the reverse today. Throwing McNary today. He was very good against State in his opening on Saturday, but. This is a team. The scouting report hadn't changed,
right?
And so the difference is, I think you'll have Christian McLeod going tomorrow, and against an Alabama lineup that kind of struggles a ton to put the ball in play. But I don't care if you roll out the 61 Yankees here tomorrow. They're a little beyond their prime, but Mississippi State's got to find a way to win a baseball game tomorrow.
Yeah, they really do. And hey, there's some people that have said this, and I agree with it. If you're trying to look for positives, in a way to positively step forward, it's baseball. You lose games in baseball. Go ahead and have a little back against your wall feeling. Go ahead and feel it. Feel what it's like to walk out onto this field. I know it's the conference tournament, but walk out on this field and go, okay, we lose. We're going home. Now, it's not permanently, but still to have that experience as a team and to learn, too, whether it's Brandon Smith or anybody. You get this postseason stuff. The margin that was razor thin, it's like frog hair thin.
Well, then you look at it too. Basically, Tanner Allen, Rowdy Jordan, the only guys with any appreciable experience in this building. And so everybody grows up, and when you were a kid, you were at home, and mom and dad are at work, and you're watching this thing on the SEC network as a teenager. Man, one day I'm going to play there. And then you get out here and you realize how big this place is, and all of a sudden it feels different. And you walk out of here at 7:30 in the morning and take BP. That's a little different deal too. But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes you obviously want to win the ball game. One of the things you look at too, silver lining wise, is you get a chance to experience what it's like to come out here and get embarrassed. Because if you come out here and you don't play your best baseball against teams that are desperate to make the postseason, you will get embarrassed, and that's what happened today.
Yeah, same thing happened to South Carolina yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
A 6-run inning, and then they tacked on some more. Alabama did in that game. South Carolina's a team that they hadn't had a whole lot of success here in recent years.
Even when they won a national championship.
I know. Even, back then with some of those South Carolina teams, it was also almost like we wondered, are they tanking it? Are they just coming in here because they have to and just getting out of here? Those Ray Tanner teams, because they didn't have success then either. Ron Polk was here yesterday sitting where you're sitting, and we asked him, very point blank, how did you approach it as a coach? And the first thing out of his mouth is, well, you have to understand the most important tournament is next week. And it's not a shot at this. It's not downplaying it. It's putting it in the right perspective. And I think State fans have to remember that too. But, hey, we love baseball, right? As a fan base, State fans, we get up and down with it every pitch, every inning.
Well, the bottom line, too, is there's nobody around that's got an M/S hat in their closet that wants to get beat 13-1 by anybody any day at any point. And so we're a proud program. We're a proud fan base, and this doesn't sit well with us. Regardless, if you get beat 4-3, 5-2, you can kind of live with that a little bit. To get embarrassed like this, and then you got to kind of hear it from all those people on Twitter.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden you turn on your coaches. Do you not understand what I'm dealing with out here because you guys threw, a midweek guy? Why didn't you throw Landon Sims all day, the whole weekend? You got to have the proper context. But at the same time, too, you never want to come out of here and get knocked around the yard what State did today.
No doubt. Harry, who's watching our live stream on YouTube, he said, do you see LSU making the NCAA tournament after their Georgia loss, 13-18 in the SEC play? A series loss in there to Oral Roberts, but they've got this number 2 strength of schedule. What do you think about LSU right now?
I think they're in trouble, and I think they need They need the chalk to hold. The last thing LSU needs is somebody to get upset in their conference tourney, and then all of a sudden a normal 1 big league becomes a 2 big league. Yeah. But I think LSU and Georgia was essentially a play-in game yesterday, and so I think Georgia is in. If you had to call it today, I think LSU was out.
How about that? It's strange to be in Hoover and LSU fans are gone. But it'd be even stranger to see them not in the postseason. Overall, Steve, you're paid to come up with the right words in a lot of different times. What's the right way to describe and kind of put into context how awesome it is to be back here for this, the way we're back?
It's great. And I saw your tweet yesterday, and I kind of felt the same way. It's like there's so many fans in the SEC that are not just fans of their school.
Right.
They're fans of our league. And this is a chance for us to all kind of get together as a family a little bit and kind of cheer for each other some. And, most of the time, most teams that come in here kind of already know what their postseason destination is. But, I want as many SEC teams as possible to make the field. I want, there's a chance we're going to have 4 out of 8 top 8 national seeds. And there's some teams in this league that I hadn't seen in person this year. So it gives me a chance, man. This is my first chance at Tennessee live since we played up there in 19, I guess. But just being back here and, seeing old friends, you know how it is. There's some people you only see at stuff like this. And it's good to reconnect, but it's just good to feel like a normal human being again, too. And to be out here doing what we love and being able to talk about baseball and not having to – I don't have to have a bubble between me and you for us to interact, and that's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it really is. There's still a few things that are hanging around, like just these remnants almost of COVID. I hate to call it that, but it's like those white tents out there beyond left field. They're giving vaccines for people who want to get one here at the tournament, if you want it. I don't know how many they've distributed. No masks, not really distancing, but it's reserve seating. The seats have numbers, so there's like these remnants of it. I don't see any coaches with masks on anymore, which we saw in the regular season. So it's, it's a we're back sort of feeling. I think
one of the things I'll say about that too, Matt, is with this job I get to travel a lot, and the regulations are a little different everywhere. But when you come back home, I tell our folks in Mississippi, I said, guys, we are living a much different experience than the rest of the country is right now. And even when I was in Alabama and, some other places, South Carolina, it's still kind of rigid. We go to Nashville, they wouldn't even let us use the restroom in the press box. And maybe that's got nothing to do with COVID. Maybe they just don't like us long-haired hillbillies from Mississippi. But it's just a different deal. And so now all of a sudden everybody's kind of getting on the same page, and it feels really great.
Yeah, well, it definitely does. Steve, looking around the league, you got an opening at A&M. You hearing anything? I mean, there have been a few people just wondering, is there anybody around here on their radar, a Gotro, people like that? You hearing anything on A&M's baseball opening?
Well, I don't think it'll relate to Mississippi State. Tony Vitello from Tennessee, who's obviously really busy right now, he is the guy. I would compare it when Urban Meyer was coming out of, I guess it was Bowling Green. That's what I would kind of compare it to.
Okay.
Now, granted, Tennessee's a better baseball program than Bowling Green is a football program, but I guess it was Utah. Yeah, it was Utah.
Right.
Yeah, but when Urban was that guy, everybody's like, oh, he's mentioned for that's Tony.
Okay.
And Tony is such a unique guy. He drives a Lamborghini. He's single. He
really?
is a recruiting machine. And so, there's talk that Paul Maneri may retire at LSU this year. And I think him going to LSU would be a disaster for everybody else in the SEC West. But, and fans need to understand, too, the job that Scott Foxhall and Jay Gotro have done at Mississippi State, they are going to be mentioned in connection with job. I mean, they're going to take them, but there's a possibility that State could have to replace both assistants this year. I mean, that's just kind of the reality. When you're doing a good job, people want a piece of that. And so fans need to understand, nobody's picking on Mississippi State. It's just your guys have kind of graduated to the point that they're head coaching candidates.
Right, and it's a good thing.
Sure.
You're in the right conversations when those things are happening, I guess. Well, listen, Steve, it's great to catch up with you and be here. Shaded area, a little breeze blowing. I sat down there for the state game for most of it until I had to come up here with my dad, and we sat out in the sun in the chair backs. And those chairs are pretty hot. Ron Polk described them yesterday. He said, yeah, it's kind of like when you sit down and be executed, I guess. And the chair gets real hot real quick. That was his way of describing it.
Coach, no shortage of one-liners for sure.
Well, that's right. He told me his favorite thing about the ballpark here in Hoover, this is Ron Polk, is that they give him his own smoking area out there in the pavilion out beyond right field. That's his favorite part of the ballpark.
Well, let's make it official. Good to see you.
There it is, an actual handshake. Thanks, Steve Robertson, on your radio. Appreciate you stopping by. Y'all continue to tune in. We're underway here. It's top of the first. One out. Alabama out there trying to pull off another upset. We'll update you when we come back. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Stick around.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Arrived today. Jeans do come true. Thank you, Blue Delta. Yeah, jeans do come true. That's what the bag says.
Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world because they are uniquely made for you and only you. Raw denim jeans, custom fit, hand tailored in Tupelo, Mississippi, my hometown.
Let's dive in and see what we have here.
Do what I did. Visit BlueDeltaJeans.com. Find your fit, design a jean, and before you know it, you'll be addicted. Just for my listeners, enter discount code Matt Wyatt, all lowercase. Again, that's if you listen to me, you can use discount code Matt Wyatt, all lowercase, and at checkout, you're going to get a 10% discount off your order.
So I just went online, ordered them, BlueDeltaJeans.com a couple weeks ago. Went in, I didn't go get measured. I just entered, what I knew about myself. I just answered the questions, and here they are at my doorstep a couple weeks later. Nice. Yeah, Blue Delta. Nice. I'm happy.
I've known the Blue Delta team for years, and I'm thrilled to have these guys on as a sponsor of this show. Blue Delta's virtual tailor is a fun and easy way to get yourself into the best fitting pair of jeans you're ever going to own.
Bet you never thought you'd get a butt shot out of me, huh? How about that? Just answered the questions, and they fit absolutely perfectly. They couldn't fit better.
So just go online, BlueDeltaJeans.com, answer the questions. It's amazing how they do it. They will fit perfectly. You're not going to find better material and better feeling pants, period, anywhere. BlueDeltaJeans.com. Use this code
Use the code. You're going to get a discount. They are the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. I promise you that. And I know that you are going to love them too. Make sure you use the code. And remember, jeans do come true.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Let me tell you about an ice cream can't be beat.
The very best tasting you can eat.
It's Meadow, 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 Meadow Smooth Freeze Meadow Gold. Go to your ice cream man today, and here's the word that you should say. Oh, give me Meadow, Meadow, Meadow Smooth Freeze Meadow Gold. And remember, folks, Meadow Gold
Is mighty good.
For double enjoyment, reach for Beech Nut Peppermint Gum. It sparkles your smile, your breath, your whole sense of enjoyment. Beech Nut Peppermint in the familiar yellow pack.
6 o'clock, dinner time. Thank goodness for Jell-O instant pudding.
Yes, thank goodness for Jell-O Instant Pudding. The terrific busy day dessert you can make at the very last minute. See how quick and easy. Just add it to cold milk and beat it up. That's all. By the time you're ready to eat it, it's all ready for you. Jell-O Instant Pudding, made by the famous Jell-O folks. So creamy, so nourishing, so delicious. No other instant pudding is quite the same. Stock your shelves with all 7 flavors. The good, busy day dessert. Jell-O Instant Pudding.
All right, back with you live in Hoover, day 2 of the SEC baseball tournament. I hope you enjoyed a conversation earlier here in the hour with Steve Robertson from 24/7 Sports, Gene's page. Stopping by. The game just ended. In fact, Steve was going to join us right at the top of the show, but they were still going through the post-game interview stuff from this one. And I'll have a chance maybe later in the show today, maybe tomorrow we'll come back and kind of recap all of it. Most likely you get a full 9-inning game. Then when we go on the air tomorrow on Thursday, State will probably still be on the field. Would have been today had it not ended by a 10-run rule, 13-1 to Florida. But what the Southeastern Conference does for media is throughout the week we get post-game interview audio, we get post-game interview video, transcripts, and that kind of stuff. And they really ramp that up. They get it out quicker, I think, because of the virtual nature of the post-game press conferences now, as opposed to the past. You'd go downstairs, do it in person. None of that going on. They're kind of keeping the team still separated and that kind of thing from fans and from media. So that's all still virtual. So he was doing that, walked down as soon as post-game was over, jumped on with us. We talked a little bit and appreciate you guys tuning into that. Feel free to comment on the live stream if you're tuning in, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, any of those, hit us up. And also on the Country Pleasing text line at 885-ESPN. It's a 601 number, 885-ESPN or 885-3776. Olivier texted the show. What's up, Olivier? He said, I listened to the game on 106.3, and I just love the way the play-by-play guy rolls his R when he says 3. That's the great Jim Ellis. Been calling Mississippi State. Yeah, the S's. Bulldogs and innings and pitches. Yeah, and Jim, great broadcaster for Mississippi State baseball on the radio for 43 years. Heck of a career going for him. Mr. King texted the show and he said, hey, Matt, could you please cut the background noise down a little bit? My head's starting to hurt. Yeah, I will tell you now, the PA here gets after. They have actually a live DJ up in the press box. And so he's playing the music, and it's good and loud. It is good and loud in between innings. Just one of the things we have here, but it kind of sounds like you're at the ballpark. It's the best I can do for you. Now, I really hate that I didn't get to all of these questions from Jay in Baltimore while I had Steve here, because this really would have set him off, I'm sure. This is right up Steve Robertson's alley, but Jay wanted me to ask him Van Halen or Van Hagar. Jay in Baltimore. I'm sorry I didn't get that out in time. Let me get you Jay's first text of the day, though. Said, there's no way you second guess the pitching decision. Disappointed? Yes, but it was a calculated gamble that didn't work. Dogs are now set up for McLeod. Then you see what happens on Saturday. By the way, he says the Gators are now without their top 2 pitchers for a few days. So I'm not expecting much more from them. And pitching is the deal. I mean, it absolutely is the deal. So you look at the deal today, it was try something different, see how it goes. And you're right. Now, McLeod throws tomorrow. He's Thursday to Thursday, full week. You know, if you win that one, you go Bednar. They all get some week. If you can, some work this week, if you can get that. I think it's a good point, a good perspective from you, Jay. Nick texted the show, and he says, you ought to do every show with Dixieland Delight playing in the background. Really? You think I should? If I were on in Alabama, I might do it. Jason in Flagstaff. He says, LOL at the Alabamians cheering a song about Tennessee in the background. Yeah, we had Rocky Top, the old Osmond Brothers version of Rocky Top going on the PA just a little while ago. You guys might have heard that. Ernest T, thanks for your text. He says, Matt, tough day for the Dogs for sure. It happens in baseball. Got to come out tomorrow with Big Mac, get the win. Raider Nation texted the show with a picture. He said, I thought this was interesting at the Jackson Airport. What do we got here? We got a drain where there's grass grow. Oh, it says Patriots. So is that the New England Patriots airplane? Is at the Jackson, Mississippi Airport? What is that all about? There it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It says 6 times on the side of the plane. It's in Patriots colors, big Patriots logo. What is it doing around here? Do some snooping, Raider Nation. See if you can find out for me. And then Jeremy says, Matt, really enjoying the live coverage from Hoover, doing yard work. So it's the best of both worlds listening to you and live updates of the game. Well, speaking of that, Jeremy, let me give you one. It's bottom of the first right now, 2 outs, Tennessee batting. Single. He's got a single just a couple of minutes ago. You might have heard the cheers. And so they got a runner on first base right here with 2 outs trying to get something done bottom of the first. Alabama went quietly in the top of the first. No hits, no runs, no errors. They did have a ball. It was hit deep to left field out there, warning track-ish. And we've got, so far yesterday, today, the most wind that we've had. We got it right now, blowing out to left. It's a little breezy in here. And now there's 2 runners on here with 2 outs. A couple of 2-out hits for Tennessee. Now that time, Alabama had a shift on, and or was that hit and run? I wasn't actually paying as close attention as I should have been. I don't think it was hit and run. Might have been. Anyway, shortstop had been pulled over to the bag, and so nicely executed if it was a hit and run because the ball was hit right at shortstop. It dribbles out into left field, and now they got runners on the corners here. Tennessee does, bottom of the first. I'll keep you updated on that. Hey, we got time for this. I want to do it. Last night, you had Ole Miss beating Auburn 7-4. Auburn's season is over. Ole Miss, they're alive here. Got a good chance to advance and make a little noise here in Hoover. In hour number 2, I'm going to let you hear what Mike Bianco said after the game, let you hear what Doug Nikhazy said after the game. It was a late one, but 12 hits, 7 runs on 12 hits for Ole Miss. They did not commit an error in the ball game and then allowed just 4 runs on 7 hits. You know, at one point there, it got interesting late in the ball game, I guess in the 7th inning, in the top of the 7th, when Ryan Bliss goes to the plate. His second hit of the night drove in a run or 2. I know it made it a 1-run game, 5-4. It closed the gap. We got it back to a 1-run game in the 7th. That was the top of the 7th. And just like Ole Miss has done all year long, is they go to the plate and they answer. And they did it. They went right back out there in the bottom of the 7th, put one over the wall, a 2-run home run, and extended their lead back to a 7-4 lead, and it stood through the 8th and the 9th. So Ole Miss advances. They're going to take on Vanderbilt late tonight, and everybody's going to be looking forward to that one. except those of us who don't have earplugs, because my assumption is that the Whistler will be here. You know, we actually got time for it right now. Let you hear what Doug Nikhazy said after his start last night. This post-game audio is from the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, it was one of those games where I think it was one on both sides of the ball. I think our offense came out and did a really good job, set the tone early, and was able to get some runs back when Bliss put that really good swing on a ball off of me. And then, of course, our offense just continues to prevail and be the best in the SEC. I think they came back later and just, continued to battle, made it really tough on all the guys that they brought in. And, Taylor Broadway in the end closing the door, done what he's done all year. So just an all-around great day.
That's Doug Nikhazy after last night's ball game. Nikhazy was just spectacular. Goes to 9-2 on the year. 6 innings of work. Faced 23 batters, 7 strikeouts, only walked 1, 2 runs on 4 hits, and 2 of those earned runs. One of those earned runs was a solo home run to start the ball game for Ryan Bliss, the shortstop. So it kind of lets you know how dominant Nikhazy was. After that, and his head coach Mike Bianco thought the same.
You just had Doug up here. Obviously, he's one of the best. Not only in our conference but in the country, and it's a good feeling when you run him out there. And so the way he pitched, I think everybody's used to that, and especially at Ole Miss, and so makes it a lot easier. On day one, knowing that you got somebody like Doug running out there. But I thought we got off, to a great start offensively. McCants in the first inning with a big double, after we gave up a run, and got us back into the game. Of course, Doug, settled down after that home run, and really settled down is probably not the right way to put it. Just, Bliss is so good, gets a breaking ball that kind of got left a little bit over the middle of the plate, and gets a great swing on it. But great night by Jacob Gonzalez. Obviously Hayden Dunhurst, a huge home run at the end, and Taylor Broadway, does what Broadway does. And, we didn't want to bring him in the 7th, especially in a dirty inning. But we had to, with our backs against the wall, you lose, you go home. And, I think that's his 13th save and 12 of them, in the SEC. So that's pretty special.
How about that? So that's Mike Bianco after the game, bragging on his pitching staff. And, they put up 7 runs as well. Answered, as we said, with a home run in the bottom of the 7th after Auburn had cut it to a 1-run game. So much needed win for them. And I'll tell you, too, sort of overall, outside of what was happening on the field, it was really cool to be here in Hoover at this stadium last night and see the crowd. You had an LSU contingent here for the afternoon game, and then that kind of led into the Ole Miss and Auburn contingent for the night game. And, it was a heck of an atmosphere for a Tuesday. It really was. Update, Alabama got out of it, stranded runners on base in the bottom of the first. They've come out here in top of the second. Got a base hit, got a double up the right field line, and now fielder's choice has run a run home, and Alabama's up 1-0 on Tennessee, still batting here with 1 out. Runners on base, top of the second inning. That'll take us on into hour number 2. I'm Matt in the Bureau. Y'all stick around.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
We are about to have a fire and cook some sausage. A country-pleasing sausage is outstanding, whether you cook it over a fire or in the house. Cook some of this right here. It's green onion flavor. You see that? But this right here is my favorite.
the maple flavor. And this is great for breakfast. It's awesome cooking it in the house because it makes the whole house smell good. Oh yeah. Let's eat country pleasing sausage, the best, hands down. If you go to countrypleasing.com, you can actually order this and deliver it to your house. Country pleasing sausage, hands down, the best. Trust me.
Davini Equipment, Spring Ridge Road in Jackson, Highway 51 in Madison. Hey y'all, let me tell you a little bit about C-Spire. New stuff in 2021, including 5G coverage. If you go to their website right now, cspire.com, you're going to see their no bull, which, by the way, I love the Super Bowl ad with the slow motion bull. You're going to see that on the website. But look, they're right. There's been a lot of bull over the years in your wireless bill, depending on if, who you were with. And my experience with C-Spire is just like they say, there's no bull. I know what it's going to cost me each month. I know what my coverage is the number one coverage in Mississippi, period, the number one network. And they've got 5G phones that are 5G ready. Now, I have the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, got it at C-Spire, went and did curbside at my local C-Spire location and did the exchange where I traded in my old one, got the new one, and it's 5G capable. And we've got 5G coverage in parts of Mississippi, and it's just growing by the day. So you really ought to check that out, okay? And in terms of the new phones, you got deals going on those as well. Find those out at cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Jeans do come true.
Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world because they are uniquely made for you and only you. Let's dive in and see what we have here. Do what I did. Visit BlueDeltaJeans.com. Find your fit, design a jean, and before you know it, you'll be addicted. Just for my listeners, enter discount code Matt Wyatt, all lowercase. BlueDeltaJeans.com. I just entered, what I knew about myself. I just answered the questions, and here they are. Nice. Yeah, Blue Delta.
Just answered the questions, and they fit absolutely perfectly. They couldn't fit better.
So just go online, BlueDeltaJeans.com, answer the questions, use this code. Use the code, you're going to get a discount. They are the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn, and I know that you are going to love them too.
Borrow it more often. All right. Okay, I'm good.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Arrived live today. Jeans do come true. Thank you, Blue Delta. Yeah, jeans do come true. That's what the bag says.
Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world because they.
All right, back with y'all. Here we go. We'll start in hour number 2 live on day 2 from the SEC tournament in Hoover. I'm Matt. Bill is here. We're both here. We're in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Bill is. I've taken my portion of the Farm Bureau Studio, made it mobile. We're on the road. We're up in the press box, press area here at Hoover Metropolitan Stadium. And day 2, thanks for tuning in to hour number 2. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Just give you an update real quick, and then we're going to talk with a guest who's come and sat down beside us here in Hoover. It's 1-0 Alabama early in the ball game. Alabama's just recorded some outs, the third out here in the bottom of the second. So we're headed to the top of the third now. Alabama up 1-0 on Tennessee. Both teams have a couple of hits, but early in the game, Alabama, the lower seed, trying to do some work and earn themselves into the NCAA tournament. They're well on their way, but a lot of baseball to play here in game number 2 on day number 2. All right, with me right here on the radio in our mobile Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Parrish Alford, who covers Ole Miss normally for the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, and had a heck of a late night last night. The Rebels put up 7 runs, but Parrish, first of all, it's good to see you in person.
Matt, it is good to see you in person, man. I mean, it's just like we're seeing all these people that we've known for years, but haven't seen in a year and a half. It's good to be back in Hoover. I was a little unsure about the protocols and the safety measures and how all that would work, but I do think less people, fewer media have asked to be credentialed. I think that's helped a little bit, just the seating and the spacing, everything is great.
Yeah, and it's just like last night, I mentioned this, we had the LSU contingent fans here for the afternoon game, followed by Ole Miss and Auburn that night, some teams that really support.
Yeah.
And kind of at the back end of the LSU game, when the Ole Miss and Auburn fans were already here, I looked around and I go, man, this is a heck of a crowd for a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And it really had the feeling of being back.
Yeah, it did. And so glad that the state of Alabama felt like they could bring 100% attendance here. That's been a really good thing. I mean, we've seen that work in Mississippi, and we know it can be done. And you just look around, and honestly, I was surprised that there were as many Auburn fans as were here last night, even though they're somewhat local.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a great year for Auburn, but they turned out last night.
I sure did. Parrish Alford on your radio. All right, so let's talk Ole Miss. First of all, where do you think they stand? So I hadn't checked RPI today. I know yesterday they were, at 15 going into last night's game?
Yeah. I haven't checked it either, Matt. I really felt like they probably locked up a home regional by winning one game at Georgia. There have been a couple of times where at 17 and 13 they did not host. But those times were like years ago, 01 and maybe 03, some just early years. Typically 17 and 13 gets you in. I really felt like they had it at 18. And I was looking at it before the tournament started, and I know RPI was 15. If had they lost last night, they could possibly have dropped out of that 16 RPI. But given that the whole group is at 20 right now, you're only competing with 20 schools. I just think, the RPI would have been okay, but the number of quadrant 1 wins, that's a basketball term, but it applies in baseball too. Ole Miss has 21 of those, and that was like second highest in the country. The strength of schedule within the conference, I mean, it's just, there are so many other factors that can put them over the top. I just think they were locked in anyway, and certainly locked in to host after last night.
Okay, so that being then the obvious reason why they come and throw Nikhazy in that game last night is just to put it to bed.
Well, I think to put it to bed, but also it's the idea that okay, you're locked into to host a regional. Can you play your way into a national seed by winning a lot of games here? And you can't win a lot of games here if you don't win the first one,
Right.
if you don't win on Tuesday night. So I think that the thinking was twofold there. And it's interesting. Well, teams play with their pitching in this tournament. It happens all the time. And sometimes you catch a break like that. And
then sometimes
yeah,
you're like Mississippi State today.
yeah, and it's just what it is. It's been that way for years. Ole Miss will not face Kumar Rocker or Jack Leiter tonight. They'll face a very a coveted high school prospect in Christian Little,
Okay.
a guy they did not see in Oxford, a guy who will be making only his second SEC appearance. They're really high on this kid, an early enrolled freshman. You don't see early enroll for baseball too much, but he got to campus early. He pitched in one SEC game to one batter. He walked a guy from Tennessee and took him out. That's all he's done in the SEC. But this tournament, Matt, postseason is the time that guys like that elevate. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
So I do not expect Ole Miss to have an easy time with Christian Little tonight. And look, they're going to have a good pitching performance from Derek Diamond, and they're going to have to hit because, they had two lockdown starting pitchers, and now they only have one.
Well, okay. So I saw Hoagland at the ball game last night. Of course, in street clothes, had his arm in the brace, and it kind of then hits you, man. What could this team do if he were 100%, right? But then I'm watching the Casey pitch, and I got to tell you, Parrish, nationally, even regionally, locally, it feels like it's almost underappreciated by the general population a little bit of just how dominant Doug Nikhazy has been.
I think that Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter from Vanderbilt were so good early in the season, and when Leiter threw that complete game no-hitter against South Carolina,
sort of set the bar.
It was like it just sucked the air out of the SEC pitching conversation. It was like nobody else mattered, and that's unfortunate because there is Doug Nikhazy. There are so many other good pitchers in the conference. But you're right. I mean, he's right up there with them. And I thought it was interesting when the coaches, all SEC, came out. They usually just pick two starting pitchers. Well, Kumar Rocker was on there. Well, there was an asterisk by Doug Nikhazy and Jack Leiter, and that indicated that there was a tie. There were a lot of coaches that voted him above Jack Leiter. All right, but they were tied in those votes, and they don't break the tie. They just add the person to the team. And so that's how Doug Nikhazy ended up with the first team spot. Very deserving, very dependable. And it was the same thing with Gunnar Hoagland when you had both of those guys. I go back and look at Ole Miss at 18 and 12. And look, you don't talk about injuries a lot because everybody has them.
Yeah.
But when you start pulling out guys like Doug Nikhazy for two starts, you pull out Gunnar Hoagland at the end of the year, you pull out Tim Elko in the middle, and it's only the last week gotten back to where you can do more than just an occasional pinch hit at bat.
And those aren't just guys. Those aren't just depth guys.
And I'm not going to say Matt Corral here, okay, because quarterback touches the ball every play. But that would have been the equivalent last year of losing Elijah Moore and losing Jerrion Ely. Yeah, and you just don't subtract guys like that and not feel it.
That's right. No doubt about it. You're exactly right. Well, and I think Mike Bianco's done a really nice job of navigating some of that. Whether it's figuring out a way and if it was possible and if it was right to get Elko a few more at-bats, okay? And he's hit some home runs, right? And, they played it right with Nikhazy when that pectoral muscle flared up on him early in the year. They played it right, and now look at what he's able to do. That's a veteran coach knowing how to navigate it. And, Parrish, I'm not trying to build them up into something they're not, but I think the way Ole Miss hits the ball, they got a chance against anybody in this tournament here in Hoover.
They have a chance, and the way I see it, Matt, is when you're throwing your aces, runs are fewer. Okay, they just are when both teams' best pitchers are going.
Yeah.
For Ole Miss to really excel in postseason, they've got to hit second day and third day pitching.
Yeah.
They've got to hit the back ends, the middle ends, the back ends of staffs. because
they're not limiting a lot of other teams on that day, are they?
Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, hitting is what they do, and honestly, that's a little bit scary because hitting can leave you sooner than pitching will leave you.
Yeah.
Hitting is a little more tricky, a little less reliable. I mean, you send Doug Nikhazy out there, Gunnar Hoagland, you're going to get a great start every time. Okay.
And if you pair that with what they're getting from guys like Gonzalez at shortstop, Jay from Baltimore, who listens, he's texted in on the Country Pleasing Sausage text line, had a question for you. He said, where do you rank Jacob Gonzalez's freshman season among some of the Ole Miss great shortstops, and what is the ceiling for him?
Tell you what, the ceiling, man, it's hard to put. I don't like putting a ceiling on guys, but when you're already hitting like almost 370, which is what Gonzalez is right now, and he's had to build to this. He wasn't hitting 370 all year, but he's been hitting, and he got on campus hitting. Okay, they knew Jacob Gonzalez was going to be their shortstop like early on from what he showed them in inter squads and things like that. You know, so much so that they didn't have a place for T.J. McCants. Okay, and then the injury started. McCants got in the lineup, made himself indispensable. But what Gonzalez has done as a freshman, it just, it's so much more than what Anthony Servideo achieved as a freshman, so much more than what Gray Kessinger achieved as a freshman. And you saw what those guys grew to become. I mean, as Gonzalez continues to improve, I just think, you're going to see more, but I mean, how much more? I mean, how much? I mean, right now he's got 11 home runs. What is 10 home runs, something like that?
I think it's 10 or 11, and his average is up there after last night.
Right.
It's up there 340, 350-ish.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the key for him is going to be consistency. Can you see this from him consistently? And, I think he can. I like him defensively. I don't think he quite covers as much ground as Servideo did, as Kessinger did, but the release is very quick. And he gets to the ball and he gets it out of his glove very quick.
I didn't give him enough credit. He's 4 for 5 last night, so he's sitting at 368 going into the ninth.
Yeah, I knew it was a little about upper 350s. It was around there.
Well, and I want to go back a couple of weeks. So moving Gonzalez out of the leadoff role, moving McCants up to the leadoff role has seemed to make a little bit of a difference for those two guys in particular. That was a heck of a move.
I think so, and to see them come up back-to-back has been really good. They've hit all year, so kind of the newness of, the freshmen are hitting is worn off. But when you see them come up in the 11th inning against Georgia, against a quality left-handed reliever in Ben Harris, okay? And both of these two freshmen stand in that right side of the plate box where the lefty swingers go and show the patience to go the other way in the 11th inning. That's impressive. I mean, you hear all the time, well, it's this late in the season. They're sophomores now. Well, there's a lot to be said for that. But every experience is still new. They're going through postseason for the first time. They're playing in clutch regular season games on the final weekend for the first time. Yeah. And to show that kind of just veteran savvy, I thought in the 11th inning in Game 2 of that series in Athens, very impressive.
All right, I got a question for you here from someone watching the live stream on Facebook. The name is Joseph King Bonnie Merchants. I don't know if it's Joseph or Bonnie, but it's one of them. Have a question, and they say, Parrish, does McCants move to the infield next year? You think he stays in center field?
I think Mike Bianco will move him around wherever he sees fit. If he thinks there's a spot on the infield, if he wants to shake some things up, maybe move Justin Bench around. I don't know. I mean, most of those guys could be back. But I think he would move McCants to the infield, in a heartbeat if he felt like that's what he needed to do with no reservations. And then he'd find another freshman infielder to put in the outfield and do things like that. I mean, the labels don't really matter to him. He really believes that guys who grew up playing infield can cover ground and make plays at just about any position.
Yeah. Parrish Alford covers Ole Miss for the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. You gave us a pretty cool scouting report looking ahead of that Vanderbilt game tonight. They're going to throw a freshman pitcher against Ole Miss. You get Diamond on the mound for Ole Miss, who, has velocity and has really good stuff, and is a young guy himself, So we got that scouting report. You didn't give us a scouting report on Vanderbilt's fan base led by the Whistler. I'm still waiting on that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of good. I didn't hear the Whistler in Oxford.
It was he was very subdued, wasn't he?
Well, he was subdued, but I'm not. I guess he was there. I think in a couple of those games I spent inside in the enclosed press box. One of them I went out, didn't hear him a lot, and it was almost like I was hearing Whistler wannabes. Because you have those guys who just whistle a little bit. They're not. They're just not as consistent, not as strong. They don't stay with it. So you got a couple Whistler wannabes out there. I think that's what I was hearing in Oxford.
If you heard the crowd roar, by the way, if you're tuning in right now, we're live at Hoover, and the game going on right below us here is Tennessee and Alabama. And Tennessee is trailing Alabama 1-0 right now, and they just had a line drive hit up the right field line. And Pinckney, the right fielder for Alabama, just made a diving catch inches off the ground, almost identical to the catch he made yesterday out in right field against South Carolina. He had a highlight play. So you put those side by side. Man, this one thing's great about this conference tournament, Parrish, is if you're in Alabama and you need wins to be in the NCAA tournament, you come to and play in the SEC tournament, you're rolling out here against some really high RPI teams, and so far Bama's making good on their opportunity.
They are. And let's go back to the outfield a little bit, Matt. Great play by the Alabama player just a minute ago. But, man, we're accustomed to seeing that diving catch from just about any team in the conference. I mean, we have seen there are so many great athletic players in the outfield. It's hard for hitters to get balls down. I mean, you got to hit a screaming line drive. You got to put some smoke on it to burn an outfielder. I mean, there are just so many great athletes in the conference. You've seen those plays. You've seen Mississippi State make them this year. I've seen Justin Bench and T.J. McCants in center field. Kevin Graham has turned out to be a better outfielder than I thought. I thought at the beginning of the season he would be serviceable. He's been much more than that. He's been very dependable. Now, he doesn't have the range that Bench or McCants have, but when he gets to the ball, he makes plays.
Yeah.
And so plays like we just saw, are kind of the norm.
Yeah, they really always see a bunch of it. You see a lot of it here during the week of Hoover. That element you're talking about, better athletes, defensively, at the major league level, those guys defensively are so good that you wonder how anybody ever hits a single through the infield.
Yeah.
It's like they get to everything.
Yeah, and how often do you see the single that bounces off the wall? You hit to the wall and get a single. I mean, that's not that uncommon.
Sure.
I thought, and you get at this park, it's a little harder on those outfielders. There's a little more ground to cover. A little bigger park. If you're hitting those line drives, you got a better chance for them to find some grass. But still, there's a lot of great defense being played out there.
This is a peek behind the curtain, not asking you to give anything away, but for people listening who follow your coverage of Ole Miss throughout the year, when you have a late game like this at a tournament, okay, and you had one last night, they threw out first pitch at like 8:15 or so last night. Tonight could be about the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you get stuff in on a deadline and making sure it's in the paper the next morning, or is it like, do you lean towards digital? And
well, it's all about digital right now. When you start getting this late in the tournament, newspaper deadlines across the board are not as late as they once were for print for the print edition. I like the flexibility that we have at the Journal to have that late deadline event by event. If this were to go, if one of our teams got to the championship game, then we would look at it. We would change that deadline. But just as a rule, an early game in the tournament like that, first night, we're just going to lean to digital on that. And thankfully, we have that, and we're able to get stuff up quickly. A lot of what we're doing right now, Matt, is, used to come to the game, and, I did, okay, at 55, I used to just come to the game and had a legal pad and a pen and had my laptop and, and I'm keeping play-by-play and I'm writing down notes. Those days are gone. I mean, there's so much live in-game coverage right now. And one of the things that I do in our Facebook group at Ole Miss Discussion with Parrish Alford is the in-game coverage. And, just the inning by inning updates and commentary and, just right when it happens. And so as soon as the game is over, I've got 9 innings of, hey, here's how it went down.
Yeah.
And so, we're able to promote that quickly and get that out there quickly and then, have a game story with a little more perspective just as quickly as we can after that. But we've got coverage from the very first pitch, until the very
Does
end.
the virtual post-game interview stuff actually help with the logistics?
It helps with logistics, Matt, and we know that Zoom isn't going away. And I think there's a place for Zoom, and I think one of the places is like that after the 8 o'clock game or the 7 o'clock game. I would choose the Zoom interview option during that time because a lot is lost in just picking up the laptop and going off to the interview place. A lot of time is lost during that. A lot of time is lost in sitting and waiting on coaches and players to come out for the interviews. Okay, you do have that, but you really miss a lot when you don't have in-person interviews ever. I think we're going to have that at SEC Media Days for the first time since COVID-19. Looking forward to that. I think we'll have that again next year. But, you gain so much, Matt, in that 5 minutes after the cameras are off. 5 minutes, 2 minutes that a player hangs around and talks and shoots the breeze or just the ability to be right there with the player or coach and get in a couple of follow-up questions that you really don't have the ability to do on Zoom. So it's a totally different atmosphere, and you lose a lot of relationship building and information.
Yeah. Parrish, information. We'll get it from you tonight after the ball game. Thank
Matt,
you so much, buddy.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. That's Parrish Alford of the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, breaking down Ole Miss, previewing Vanderbilt. We'll read his coverage of that one later tonight and in the morning. Y'all stick around. Long way to go in hour number 2.